So welcome everybody. Welcome to Heart Song Podcast. It is November the 6th, 2025. And our topic this evening is enlightenment. And so just to give a definition, because many people like this is not a new word. It's been around for such a long time. And however, not everybody has the same, I would say, understanding of what enlightenment is. I'm just going to give a very, um, I would say I just want to give my definition so that, if yours is different, then your understanding of this material may be a little different. But my understanding of enlightenment is that enlightenment means you know. It means you know. Just know. Because we are powerful beings. We actually know a lot more than we consciously are remembering. There are things we know that we don't even know we know until we needed that information. So, enlightenment simply means, know. You just know. Know meaning that you don't need to look it up. You don't have to analyze it. You don't have to read about it from anywhere else. The information just comes to you. And you can't really logically say it is this or, yeah, you just know. And that is the way we are. Because why? Because we are simply light. Light, light is information. The reason why we don't know everything is because we actually have been trained that we can only know from, reading a book or listening to somebody else's talk about it. Then we would know. But no, actually, we can get information out of thin air. That is who we truly are as a soul, as a somebody who can interpret that we can just interpret energy. We have this is our innate ability that we just know. And mm, we we've been trained out of it. So when we get back to who we truly are, when we start to let go of these programs that tell us we need to read a book in order to, learn something, or we need to apprentice for, 10 years until we learn something, um, which is all just not true. We actually can know. Why? Because there's been, I would say, there's been experiments, really, well, not so classified now because that information has been declassified. I know perhaps some of you have heard of what remote viewing is. There are actually, these are actually, remote viewing is something that U.S. government as a program. I forgot the name of it, but anyways, they actually try to use to take advantage of this ability, that our innate ability to know information. And they develop a whole protocol called remote viewing, where they can get information about the enemy things that are behind enemy lines. For example, U.S. is trying to remote view what's at a certain a military site in in Russia or some other countries that may not be so friendly. So they develop a whole, I would say, a group of people trying to develop this ability to be able to just get information by using a protocol called remote viewing to find out, what's going on, so that when they actually need to um, go to the location, their the military or their own people are not blindsided by, don't know what's going to happen when they kind of find information by remote viewing. And so we actually have that ability to just get information. It's just that we have lost that ability. And enlightenment is really a process where we start to leave we start to get back to who we truly are, so that we don't have the overlay of, emotions or other programs that tries to distort our own ability to know. So enlightenment, in my definition, is simply to just know, and we can all get information. We don't know how we get it. It's just that when you focus on a certain something, information comes to you. For example, if you look at a person, then information about that person could be information about health, could be information about their state of being at the time. So those information will come to you. We actually have that an innate ability. I'm quite sure you have this, especially if you've been a mom, then you kind of know, or I should say, well, if I want to find out how my kids are doing, I don't need to call them or try to talk to them anything. I just have to think about them, and information about their state of well-being would start to come to me. So this is something that a lot of people may have. Not everybody, but however, this is not something that is so far-fetched. We all have that ability to some extent. We may or may not be using it. However, we have that ability. And the more you get into that state of going back to your true self, then these abilities would get to be stronger and stronger. So any questions, comments so far before I continue? Okay, let me continue then. So enlightenment is not something that, just, you are enlightened now and that's it. That's the end of the story. No, there are actually, I would say, tiers, according to Chematic, which is Sifu James' teaching, there are tiers. So he grouped them into 7 tiers. Um, Tiers are really levels. And so I just want to talk a little bit about the chematic enlightenment levels. So these are the 7 tiers that Sifu James has kind of mapped out. And he categorized this. Does these 7 tiers actually exist? I would say not really. Is they don't exist. It's not as solid as you think. You may have, abilities from tier 1 and then tier 4 and then occasionally, you may have tier 5, 6, or 7. However, there is, I think what he means by is majority of the time, where are you at? So there's actually a tier that is not shown here, which is tier 0, meaning that your soul is not quite awakened yet. So is tier 0. However, he's only from naming from 1 to 7. These are kind of the keynotes of each tier. So when you're in tier 1, your soul is awakened, meaning that you may still have your ego is still running, but your soul is also there. So they're kind of co-piloting. So there you have a soul that is awakened, is more aware of themselves as their true self, but then there's still the ego is still running. So and then this tier 2 is when your ego is gone. So when your ego is gone, then your soul can do a lot more. But it's still, there are ways to go. So in tier 3, your soul can see the big picture. Because when you're in tier 2, you may be able to know things for yourself, but you're not powerful enough to know things that is for for the whole, maybe for the whole group, or even for a nation. So tier 2 is your ego is gone. However, you only know about yourself. From tier 3 on, you can see the bigger picture. So you get to have visions or some idea of which way to go. And then tier 4 is a major change, which is you are the healing field, meaning that you are so coherent within yourself and you can see enough of the big picture that your presence alone can start to heal the field around you, heal the people around you, start to heal the society around you. So you are the healing field at that level. And then at tier 5, you're starting to get to the point where you're much bigger. And then at tier 6, you live as truth, meaning that reality starts to shape around you. You influence, you change the reality around you. And then when you're in tier 7, then you are the one. One meaning that you are completely in line and living as the one, as something that is beyond just you. You're no longer just this body. You are everything around you. So it's a very different kind of enlightenment from tier 1 to all the way up to tier 7. Any questions, comments so far? Okay, let's just talk a little bit more specifically about each one of these tier. So how do we know what tier 1 actually looks like or feels like? So tier 1, your soul is awake. So you feel a deep sense of truth in your decisions. You still have an ego, you still feel the fear, but instead of being overwhelmed by your own ego or fear, you can start to know what is your soul's point of view, and you start to be able to follow your soul instead of being completely run by your ego. And your inner compass is strong, but you're not fully free yet, meaning you still are kind of, you still have the old programs and peer pressure being influencing you. You know what is right. So you just know what is the best thing to do in the moment, but just for yourself. So this is what tier 1 feels like. And then tier 2, ego is gone. So emotions, a lot of the emotional issues, mental programs or spiritual hang-ups, you have worked through all of them, and they kind of stop interfering with you most of the time. Your ego is quiet. It is still around, but it is way less loud than before. And you feel peace most of the time in your daily life. And even the people around you feel calm, and they feel that things are opening up for them just by being with you. And your energy helps others even without trying. So that's what tier 2 feels like, is that you are much more even-keeled. And though you may still have an ego, it is, I would say the ego is an obedient child now to the soul, rather than the ego running the show. Now it is really the soul that is running. And the ego may still come up every now and then, but it is much more tame and quiet and obedient than before. So that's what tier 2 looks and feels like. Tier 3 is you can see the big picture. So the most important thing, I would say the change is that at tier 3, you start to get visions, or at least you are much more capable of seeing patterns in people or in situations, and you have visions about the future. You can understand how events actually connect. It may be events from the past, is how it is connected to the present. You will be able to sense that connection. And when you talk, you're mostly speaking truth. And this truth, because the truth has, whatever it is that you say, has the integrity of the soul behind it. And the soul is aligned with what the true nature is. So it rings true, and other people can recognize it. They feel that vibration. So you're now a visionary, and your guidance can change lives. So that's what tier 3 looks and feels like. Tier 4 is you are the healing field. You no longer just, you don't really need to give a healing, because just your presence is healing already. And your wisdom, the cosmic vision all just works together seamlessly. And people, because when you're in tier 4, you have a very coherent field energy around you. And that field energy would be able to, like, people around you would be able to sense it. They may not consciously know it, but their body feels it. And just by people being near you, they can start to realign themselves, and they would start to heal themselves just by being near you. And you don't have to do, you don't actually have to make something happen. The situation just starts to sort itself out, because when your energy field is coherent, it is so coherent that when chaos is around you, you start to organize the chaos into coherent field as well. So people, places, and things will start to shift just by your presence. So tier 5, you are one with the infinite. So you're no longer thinking of you doing anything. Thing just flows. Just one event just naturally flows into the next. Um, your energy joins the infinite field, and there is no separation. You don't get surprised or shaken anymore, because you don't really have because you're able to flow with the information and the things around you. So you actually can be calm and unshaken, because surprises or other seeming stress cannot pull you away from your own truth. So you don't hold the field, you are the field. In tier 5. Tier 6, you live as truth. So your presence can start to correct things that are wrong energetically or karmically. So even when there is let's say there's disturbance in the energy field, but your presence alone can start to shift the energy. You carry a deep sense of universal justice, and you can dissolve ego or patterns just by showing up. You don't need to argue the truth. You are the law behind it. Tier 7, you are the one. There's no more separation. So energy, truth, ego, all gone. You are complete stillness. Life flows around your presence. The world just reorganizes itself when you enter it. So you no longer need to do anything. Reality just reforms around you naturally. And whatever it is that you think, then things start to happen the way you have envisioned it to be. And this is how you get to be a true creator. So any questions, comments about these explanation of the 7 tiers?
Can you evaluate where each of us are? Like, could you?
You can tell that yourself. Okay, so let's just let's go back to tier one, for example. So does any of these kind of remind you of how you are in your daily life? Tier, like, do you feel a deep sense of truth in your decisions? Do you follow your soul instead of fear or ego? Your inner compass is strong. Do you just know what is right? Does that feel
I don't.
Yeah, you just have to ask yourself these questions. Then you know where you're at.
We may have a little bit of each, or maybe a little bit of first three.
Mm-hmm. Where are you at most of the time? So ask yourself a question, where are you at most of the time? That it will be kind of your tier. And then as I mentioned, we like these are, it's not like if you're in tier one, then that's it. You cannot be tier two or three or anywhere else. Is that, there is usually one tier that you are at most of the time. And then there are other tiers that you may go and visit every now and then. Or you may have some abilities that is like you have visions, let's say. Or people just seem to, or people, places, and things just seems to improve when you are present. So you may have a bit of four. So, however, most of the time, though, where are you at? Then that will be where your tier is.
Are you going to send us this slide?
Yes, sure.
Thank you.
If you desire,
Yes, please.
I can definitely send that out. It's not a problem. So they're actually, the best way is to ask yourself a question and get the answer, and then feel where you're at in the answer. Like, let's say things like, a very simple question is, should I go on vacation, for example? So you have an answer, and then you just check in with yourself. Is this the answer? Is this the soul answer or the ego answer? Or how confident are you at with your answer? So all those things, like the higher the tiers, the more your choice would be from the soul point of view, and the more confident and sure you'll be. So you just know what is the right answer for yourself. Because this enlightenment, according to this definition, is you just know. You don't need to analyze it. You don't need to, use logic to figure it out. You just know. So how did you get the answer? Do you just know, or Did you try to figure it out? So those would be the questions to ask yourself to get a feel of which tier you're in. Any other questions? Comments so far? Okay. I don't want to talk too much about the tiers. So I just want to introduce it tonight. This is the first night that I'm going to talk about it, but there will be like this is a big topic. There's so much more that I can say. And also, actually, you can use the tiers to do healing. So we'll talk a lot more about the tiers. However, tonight I just want to introduce what enlightenment is according to the chematic system and to talk about the 7 tiers. And then we will do a lot more with these in the coming months and we'll coming weeks anyways. We'll talk more about, how to move yourself from one tier to another because we all have to start somewhere. Maybe we're not even in tier 1 yet. However, we cannot, there's always something we can do to move ourselves up the tiers. So that is something that we'll talk about later on. However, for this first time, I just want to introduce it. And then next, I just want to actually just introduce one more thing, and then we can go to the meditation. So just want to talk about one more thing. Hang on. Okay, yep, we are still recording. So anyways, so what does each tier in terms of, the eyes, because we talk about eyes, the soul eyes before. So in terms of that, what does each tier recommend? Because the soul eyes is really I would say, the meridians for spirituality, whereas the meridians itself is the energy energy pathways that the body, like if you want to strengthen the body, you work with clearing the meridians. But when you want to strengthen spirituality, then you need to work with your eyes. So in terms of the eyes, what each of the tier really draws from. So for tier 1, it is soul, it means you activate your soul and then you add in wisdom eye and you start to stabilize your soul. And so your soul clarity is kind of stabilized, starting to anyways. And then with tier 2, you definitely need all your wisdom eyes because the wisdom eye has 4 components. So you'd want to for all 4 of those components to be strong and working together with your soul. And then 3 voided heads. 3 voided heads simply means that you have emotional baggage and also mental clutter all gone. So that's the 3 voided heads mean. And you can have a stable, unified soul field. So you kind of have the unified soul field in tier 1, but it's not quite stable yet. It's just in the early stages. Whereas in tier 2, your unified soul field would be stable, meaning that you can switch it on. You don't have to meditate for, 15, 20 minutes for the USF to come on. You can just bring it on. Something that is just much more automatic. And then with tier 3 is 6I. And you have a stable unified soul field plus 1, which is 1 is the brain coherence, the few of the brain components all functioning as one. So when your brain is functioning as one, you can receive information. And then the 6I is the one that can give you, with all of this together, you can get visions. And your soul is stable. In tier 4, you have wisdom I, 6I, and full USF, meaning that your unified soul field would be quite constant, even when you don't have to actually meditate in order to bring it on. It would be on pretty much most of the time in your daily life, because at tier 4, you would be starting to be fully soul-led. So tier 5 is soul, wisdom I, 6I, infinite I, and unified soul field. And then next one up, you start to need to have the soul, wisdom I, 4th, 5th, 6I, plus OSF. OSF is one soul field. So one soul field is a much higher level of USF. When you're in tier 6, your OSF, one soul field, would be coming on, so that you don't have to make changes anymore. You don't have to actively do something to make changes. You just have to hold the field, and changes start to happen around you. The reality would start to rearrange itself around you. Tier 7, you need 1, you need 6I, and also one soul field. So that you're no longer existing as a soul. There's no more soul. You are all there is. You're not just one soul. You are all. You are the one. So only presence. So that's what's involved. So if you want to progress through or get to be in higher tiers, then these are some of the things that you need to work on. That's why I've been doing USF, the Unified Soul Field, with you all in the past couple of weeks, because when your Unified Soul Field is working, then you actually already start to heal yourself. You start to elevate your soul and heal your soul just by activating the USF. So anyways, that's all I want to talk about this evening. Any questions, comments so far? Okay. And let's continue. So now we get to the